A simple woman forced to sing to mock her, but her powerful voice left everyone speechless. Maria was a woman who lived in a small, quiet village surrounded by fields and hills. The village was not very big, only a few hundred people lived there. Everyone knew each other by name, and life moved slowly. The houses were small, made of wood and stone, and the streets were narrow and dusty. There was a small market in the center where villagers sold fresh vegetables, fruits, and handmade goods. Children played near the old well, and farmers worked hard in the fields from early morning to late evening. Maria was one of those people who seemed to blend into the background. She was not rich or poor, but lived a very simple life. She wore plain clothes, usually a cotton dress with faded colors, and her hair was tied back with a piece of cloth. She didn't own much, but she had everything she needed to get by. Maria's days were full of small tasks. She woke up early every morning, cooked food for her family, cleaned the house, and looked after the garden where she grew some vegetables and flowers. She wasn't famous or important in the village, and she didn't try to be. Maria was quiet and kind, and most people didn't think much about her. She spoke softly, never raised her voice, and always smiled gently when she greeted others. Maria's family was small. She lived with her elderly mother and two younger brothers who worked in the fields. Her father had passed away when she was very young, so Maria had learned to take care of the house and help her family from a young age. Even though life was not always easy, Maria was content. She enjoyed simple things, watching the sun rise, feeling the cool breeze in the evening, and listening to the birds singing in the trees. At the village market, Maria often helped the elderly by carrying their bags or giving small advice about herbs and plants she knew from the garden. People respected her for her kindness, but few knew much about her dreams or thoughts. Maria never talked about her feelings or hopes, mostly because she thought they were not important. She believed she was just an ordinary woman, living an ordinary life, and that was enough. But deep inside, Maria had a secret. She loved music. When she was a child, her father had taught her some songs. He had a beautiful voice and often sang to her before she went to sleep. Those memories stayed with her, and sometimes, when she was alone, Maria would quietly hum those songs or sing softly to herself. Her voice was never loud or bold, just a gentle sound that filled her heart with peace. But she never sang in front of others because she felt shy and unsure. The village was full of people who loved music, and many had good voices, but Maria never thought she could compare. The village was a place where people valued tradition and often followed old ways. Everyone knew their place and their role in the community. Some families were wealthy, owning large farms or shops, while others worked as laborers or craftsmen. Music was part of celebrations, weddings, festivals, and holidays were filled with singing and dancing. However, the people who sang most proudly were those with confidence and bold personalities. Quiet people like Maria were rarely invited to join. Maria watched those celebrations from a distance, smiling but never joining in. She enjoyed seeing the happiness on other faces and listening to the cheerful sounds, but she kept her distance. She was used to being invisible, and that was comfortable for her. Sometimes, when the music was loud and bright, she wished she could be part of it. But she quickly pushed the thought away, telling herself that it was not for her. One of the reasons Maria stayed quiet was because some villagers could be unkind. Not everyone was friendly in the village, and sometimes people made fun of those who were different or shy. Maria had heard cruel jokes about people who tried to do something unusual or who failed in public. Those stories made her afraid to show any special talent she might have. She didn't want to be laughed at or mocked. So, she stayed in the shadows, living her simple life, and singing only when she was sure no one was listening. Despite her quiet nature, Maria had a few close friends, women who also lived simple lives and understood her well. They would meet once a week by the river, sitting under the big oak tree, sharing stories and small joys. Maria loved those meetings because she could relax and be herself. Her friends never judged her, and sometimes, they encouraged her to try singing with them. But Maria always refused, saying, "I'm not good at singing. It's better if I keep quiet." One day, a stranger came to the village. He was a traveler, someone who had seen many places and heard many stories. The villagers were curious about him, and soon, he became part of the weekly gatherings. The stranger listened carefully to everyone and noticed Maria's quietness. He saw how she smiled gently and how she looked at the river with a faraway gaze. One evening, he asked her, "Maria, do you sing?" Maria was surprised by the question. She hesitated and then softly replied, "Only when I'm alone. I don't think I have a good voice." The stranger smiled kindly and said, "Sometimes, the best voices come from the quietest hearts. If you ever want to sing, I would love to hear." Maria thanked him but felt unsure. She didn't know if she could ever be brave enough to sing in front of others. Still, the stranger's words stayed with her like a small light in the dark. Days passed, and life continued as usual. Maria went about her daily tasks, but now, she sometimes hummed softly while working in the garden. The memory of her father's songs and the traveler's kind words gave her a strange feeling of hope. She wondered if there could be something more to her life than just the simple routine she knew. One afternoon, the village announced a big festival to celebrate the harvest season. There would be food, dancing, and singing. Everyone was excited, and preparations began. This was the biggest event of the year, where the whole village came together to share joy and friendship. Maria's friends encouraged her to join the singing, saying it could be fun. But Maria was afraid. What if people laughed at her? What if her voice was not good? Those fears kept her silent. The stranger, however, spoke to her again, gently saying, "Sometimes, the most powerful moments come when we face our fears. You never know what you can do until you try." Maria thought about it all night. She looked at the stars and felt a small courage growing inside her. Maybe it was time to stop hiding. Maybe her voice, quiet and unknown, was waiting for its chance to be heard. The day of the festival finally arrived. The whole village was filled with excitement and energy. Colorful decorations hung from the trees, and tables were set with delicious food made from fresh vegetables, fruits, and homemade bread. Children ran around laughing, and the adults chatted happily as they prepared for the celebrations. Music floated through the air, played by a small group of musicians who were getting ready to entertain the crowd. Maria woke up early that morning feeling a mixture of nervousness and hope. She had spent the previous night thinking about the traveler's words and the quiet courage growing inside her heart. Maybe, just maybe, she could find the strength to sing in front of the village. But the fear was still there, quietly whispering doubts in her mind. When Maria arrived at the festival, she noticed how many people had gathered in the village square. Friends, families, and neighbors were all there, smiling and talking. Some wore their best clothes, while others dressed simply like Maria. The musicians began to play lively tunes, and the crowd clapped along, enjoying the festive mood. As the sun began to set, it was time for the singing performances. One by one, villagers stepped forward to sing songs they had practiced for weeks. Many had beautiful voices and sang proudly. The audience cheered and clapped for each performer, and the joy in the air was almost magical. Maria watched from the side, feeling her heart beat faster. She knew she could not stay silent any longer. But just as she was gathering her courage, she overheard a few voices nearby. Some villagers were whispering, and their words were not kind. Why would she even try to sing? She's just a simple woman. Her voice can't be good, said one man with a sneer. Maybe they want to laugh at her when she messes up, added a woman with a cruel smile. Maria's stomach twisted with fear. She thought about turning away, hiding like she always did. But then she remembered the traveler's gentle words and her own quiet hope. She decided that if she was going to be mocked, she would face it with courage. She would sing, not to please others, but to be true to herself. With trembling legs, Maria stepped forward. The music stopped, and the crowd grew silent. All eyes turned to her, some curious, some doubtful. She could feel the weight of their judgment, but she held her head high. Maria took a deep breath and began to sing. At first, her voice was soft, almost like a whisper, but as she continued, it grew stronger and clearer. The notes flowed from her heart, full of emotion and warmth. It was a voice no one in the village had ever heard before, a voice that was powerful yet gentle, filled with hope and beauty. The crowd was stunned. The laughter and sneers disappeared instantly. People stopped talking and listened, captivated by the unexpected sound. Maria's singing touched something deep inside them. Her voice carried stories of love, loss, and dreams, and for a moment, everyone forgot their differences and fears. Some villagers wiped tears from their eyes, moved by the purity of her song. Even those who had doubted her could not help but feel respect and admiration. Maria sang with such passion that it felt as if the whole village was wrapped in her music. When she finished, the silence lingered for a moment, as if no one could believe what they had just heard. Then, slowly, the crowd erupted into applause. People cheered loudly, clapping and shouting words of praise. Maria smiled shyly but proudly, knowing she had done something important not just for herself but for everyone who had ever felt small or unnoticed. Among the crowd, Maria saw the traveler smiling warmly. He nodded at her, his eyes full of pride. Maria felt a deep connection with him, grateful for his kindness and encouragement. After the festival, the villagers talked about Maria's singing everywhere. Children sang her songs in the fields, and adults whispered about the simple woman with the extraordinary voice. Some who had once ignored her now invited her to join their gatherings and celebrations. Maria's life began to change in ways she had never imagined. But not everyone was happy. A few people still doubted her talent or were jealous of the attention she received. They tried to spread rumors and whisper behind her back, hoping to bring her down. Maria heard some of these words but chose not to let them hurt her. She knew her voice was a gift, and she was determined to use it for good. Maria continued to sing, practicing every day and sharing her music with those who wanted to listen. She felt stronger and more confident with each passing moment. The village that had once seen her as just a simple woman now saw her as a source of inspiration and hope. One evening, as the sun set behind the hills, Maria stood by the river bank with her friends. They sang together, their voices blending in harmony. Maria felt a joy she had never known before, a joy that came from being true to herself and sharing her gift with others. The festival had been more than a celebration of the harvest. It had been a celebration of courage, kindness, and the power of a voice that refused to be silenced. Maria's story became a reminder to everyone that even the quietest person can have a powerful voice waiting to be heard. From that day on, Maria lived with a new sense of purpose. She helped others find their own voices, encouraging them to believe in themselves. Her simple life was filled with music and friendship, and the village grew closer and stronger because of her. Maria's journey showed that sometimes, when people are forced into a difficult situation, they discover strengths they never knew they had. And when they dare to be themselves, their true beauty shines through, leaving everyone around them speechless in the best way. After the festival, Maria's life began to change in ways she had never expected. For years, she had lived quietly, almost invisible to the people around her. But now, her singing had awakened something inside her and in the hearts of the villagers that could not be ignored. Her voice had touched people deeply, and it seemed to bring a sense of peace and hope wherever it was heard. At first, Maria was surprised by all the attention. People who had barely spoken to her before now smiled warmly and greeted her by name. Some asked her to sing at family gatherings, and others invited her to village celebrations. Maria felt both nervous and proud. She had never imagined that she would become someone people admired. It was a new feeling, one she wasn't quite sure how to handle. Despite the praise, Maria remained humble. She remembered the days when she was afraid to sing in front of others and the cruel words some people had whispered. But instead of letting those memories hold her back, she used them as fuel to grow stronger. Every time she sang, she poured her heart into the music, hoping to bring joy and comfort to those who listened. Maria began to practice more often, learning new songs from the village elders and sometimes creating her own melodies. She discovered that music could express feelings words could not. When she sang, she could tell stories of love, kindness, and courage. Her voice became a bridge that connected people, reminding them of the simple beauty in life. One day, a group of villagers approached Maria with a special request. They were organizing a celebration to honor the oldest members of the village, and they wanted Maria to be the main singer. This was a great honor, but it also made Maria nervous. She wondered if she was ready for such an important role. Still, she agreed because she wanted to give something back to her community. The day of the celebration arrived, and the village hall was filled with people of all ages. The atmosphere was warm and joyful, with children running around and elders sharing stories. When it was Maria's turn to sing, she stood in front of the crowd, took a deep breath, and began. Her voice filled the room, soft at first, then growing strong and clear. She sang songs that spoke of the village's history, its struggles, and its hopes for the future. The audience listened in silence, many with tears in their eyes. Maria's music reminded them of their shared past and the strength they had as a community. After the performance, several villagers came up to Maria to thank her. They said her singing had touched their hearts and made the celebration even more special. Maria smiled, feeling a deep sense of happiness and belonging. She realized that her voice was not just a gift for herself but a gift for everyone around her. As time went on, Maria's reputation as a singer grew beyond the village. People from nearby towns began to visit, hoping to hear her sing. Some even asked if she would travel to other places to perform. Maria was both excited and scared by these new opportunities. Leaving the village meant stepping into the unknown, but it also meant sharing her music with more people. One evening, Maria sat with the traveler who had first encouraged her to sing. They talked about the future and the possibilities that awaited her. The traveler reminded her, "Your voice is a light, Maria. Don't be afraid to shine it wherever you go." Maria thought about those words carefully. She knew it would be difficult to leave the familiar comforts of home, but she also felt a deep desire to grow and explore. After much thought, she decided to accept an invitation to perform at a festival in a nearby town. The journey was new and exciting. Maria traveled by horse and cart, passing through fields, forests, and small villages. Everywhere she went, people welcomed her warmly and listened to her sing with wonder. Maria felt grateful and proud, knowing that her voice could cross borders and bring people together. At the festival, Maria sang on a large stage in front of a big crowd. At first, she was nervous, but as she began to sing, her confidence grew. The music flowed from her heart, and the audience was captivated. They clapped and cheered, asking for more songs. Maria's performance was a success, and she realized that her voice was powerful enough to touch many lives. But with new experiences came new challenges. Not everyone understood Maria's simple background or her quiet nature. Some people judged her based on her appearance or doubted her talent because she was not from a wealthy family. Maria faced moments of loneliness and doubt, but she remembered the kindness of her friends and the support of the traveler. She held on to her belief that music was a language of the heart, one that could break down barriers and bring light to even the darkest places. Back in her village, Maria's family and friends were proud of her. They followed her journey through letters and stories shared by visitors. They missed her but knew she was doing something important. Maria's mother often said, "You have brought honor to our home, Maria. Your voice is a blessing." As Maria traveled and sang, she also learned more about herself. She discovered strength she never knew she had, and she grew more confident in who she was. Her singing was no longer just a secret she kept, it was a part of her identity, a way to connect with others and share her soul. One night, after a performance in a distant town, Maria sat quietly under the stars. She thought about her journey from the simple woman in a small village to a singer who had touched so many hearts. She felt a deep gratitude for the path she had taken, even with its fears and challenges. Maria knew her story was not just about music. It was about courage, kindness, and believing in oneself. It was about finding light in unexpected places and sharing that light with the world. Her voice had become more than just a sound, it had become a symbol of hope and strength. And though Maria remained humble and simple at heart, she understood that she had the power to inspire others just by being herself. Maria's voice had changed many things, not only in her own life but in the lives of those around her. What had started as a quiet, humble gift now became a powerful force. People who once doubted or ignored her now looked at her with respect and admiration. Her singing was no longer just a private joy, it had grown into something that could bring the whole village and even others beyond it together. One day, the village elders invited Maria to perform at an important meeting. This meeting was not like the usual celebrations, it was about making decisions that would affect the future of the village. The elders believed that Maria's voice could inspire people and help unite them in a time when the village faced difficulties. The fields had not produced as much harvest that year, and many families were worried about the coming months. Maria felt honored but also nervous. She knew that this performance would be different. It was not just about music or celebration, it was about hope and strength in hard times. When the day came, the village hall was filled with people. The atmosphere was serious, and there was a quiet tension in the air. People talked in low voices, worried about what the future would bring. Maria stepped forward with her usual quiet confidence. She closed her eyes for a moment and then began to sing. Her voice was calm but strong, carrying words that spoke of courage, patience, and unity. As she sang, the tension in the room seemed to lift. Faces softened, and eyes brightened. People began to feel a sense of peace and determination. After the song ended, the elders thanked Maria and spoke about working together to help the village through the difficult times. Inspired by Maria's music, the villagers agreed to support one another and share what they had. It was a turning point, a moment when the village came together as one, ready to face the challenges ahead. This experience showed Maria how powerful music could be. It was more than just sound, it was a language that reached people's hearts and minds. Her voice could heal wounds, inspire courage, and bring hope where there was despair. Word of Maria's singing and the village's unity spread to nearby towns. People came to visit, eager to hear the woman who could sing with such power and kindness. Maria welcomed them all, happy to share her gift and the story of her simple village. With time, Maria began to teach others to sing. She believed that everyone had a voice inside them, waiting to be heard. She started small classes under the big oak tree by the river, where she used to meet her friends. Children, young adults, and even older villagers came to learn from her. Maria was patient and gentle, encouraging each person to find their own unique sound. The singing lessons became more than just lessons, they became moments of joy and connection. People who had never spoken much to each other found common ground through music. Differences faded, and friendships grew. Maria felt a deep happiness knowing she was helping others discover their own voices. One day, a young girl named Anna came to Maria's class. Anna was shy and quiet, much like Maria had been. She rarely spoke and looked afraid to try. But Maria saw something special in Anna, a hidden strength and a beautiful heart. She gently encouraged Anna to sing, and over time, the girl's voice blossomed. Watching Anna grow gave Maria hope. She remembered her own journey, the fear, the doubts, and the courage it took to sing in front of the village for the first time. She realized that everyone could shine if given the chance and support. Maria's singing and teaching also brought the village closer to its traditions. Many of the songs she taught were old folk songs, passed down through generations. By sharing them, Maria helped keep the village's history and culture alive. People felt proud of their roots, and the music became a way to celebrate their identity. The traveler who had first encouraged Maria to sing remained a close friend and guide. He often visited the village, bringing stories from faraway places and reminding Maria of the wider world. He believed that her voice could reach even more people and inspire beyond the village. One day, the traveler suggested that Maria record her songs so that they could be shared with others who could not come to the village. Maria was unsure at first. She was used to singing for the people around her, not for strangers far away. But she trusted her friend and agreed to try. The recordings were simple but beautiful. Maria's voice, filled with emotion and sincerity, reached people in other towns and villages. Letters and messages came from listeners who said that her singing had touched their hearts, helped them through hard times, and given them hope. Maria was amazed by the reach of her music. She had never imagined that her quiet voice could travel so far. But she also knew that her gift was meant to be shared. It was not about fame or money, it was about connection, healing, and spreading kindness. As the years passed, Maria's life remained simple, but it was full of meaning. She continued to sing, teach, and inspire. The village grew stronger and more united, thanks in part to the music that brought people together. Maria often thought back to the moment when she was forced to sing in front of the village, a moment that had once filled her with fear but had changed everything. What had been meant to mock her became the very thing that gave her strength and helped her find her true self. Her story became a reminder to everyone that true power comes from within. It is not about appearances or status but about courage, kindness, and the willingness to be yourself. Maria's voice had become a symbol of hope and resilience, a light that could never be dimmed. In the quiet evenings, Maria would sometimes sit by the river and sing softly to herself. The songs carried memories of her past and dreams of the future. She felt grateful for the journey she had taken and for the people who had believed in her. Maria knew that life was not always easy, but she also knew that music had the power to heal, unite, and inspire. And as long as she could sing, she would continue to share her gift with the world. Maria's life had transformed completely from the shy, simple woman she once was. She had grown into a symbol of hope and courage, not because she sought fame or attention, but because she stayed true to herself and shared her gift with kindness and humility. Her voice had become a powerful force, touching the hearts of many, bringing joy, comfort, and unity. As Maria continued to sing and teach, her village flourished in ways nobody had imagined. The people, once worried about the future, now faced challenges with courage and togetherness. Music had helped them find strength and peace. And Maria was at the center of this change, not as a ruler or leader, but as a gentle voice guiding them. One day, as the village prepared for the annual harvest festival, Maria was asked to lead the ceremony with a special song. This festival was important because it celebrated the hard work of the farmers and the gift of the land. Everyone in the village looked forward to it with joy, and this year, they wanted Maria's voice to be the heart of the celebration. Maria felt a deep sense of honor. She had been part of many festivals before, but this one felt different. It was a time to give thanks and to look forward to the future with hope. As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the fields, Maria stood before the crowd, her heart full of emotion. She started to sing a song that told the story of the earth, the rains, the sun, the seeds planted with care. Her voice was soft and warm, like a gentle breeze, but it grew strong and steady as she continued. The villagers listened closely, feeling the love and gratitude in her words. The song reminded them of their connection to the land and to each other. After the song ended, the crowd burst into applause. People smiled and hugged each other, feeling a deep sense of happiness and belonging. Maria looked around and saw faces full of hope. She knew that her music had helped make this moment special. The festival went on with laughter, dancing, and delicious food shared by all. Maria joined in the celebrations, feeling more at home than ever. She realized that her journey was not just about singing but about building a community where everyone mattered. As the years passed, Maria's influence grew beyond the village and nearby towns. People from distant places heard about the woman with the incredible voice who sang with kindness and strength. Invitations came for her to perform in other villages, towns, and even cities. Though the idea of leaving her village for longer trips made Maria nervous, she knew that her music was meant to be shared far and wide. With the support of her family and friends, she began to travel more, carrying the songs of her village and the message of hope with her. Each new place Maria visited brought new experiences and new friends. She sang in big halls, small cafes, and even open fields under the stars. Everywhere she went, people were touched by her voice and her humble spirit. Maria's music became a bridge between different cultures and communities, showing that kindness and courage are universal. During her travels, Maria met other musicians and storytellers. She learned new songs and shared her own. These exchanges enriched her music and deepened her understanding of the world. Maria found joy in the connections she made and the stories she heard. Despite her growing fame, Maria never forgot her roots. She returned to her village often, bringing stories and songs from her travels. She continued to teach singing under the big oak tree by the river, helping others find their voices just as she had found hers. One evening, as Maria sat by the fire with a group of young singers, she shared the story of how she had been forced to sing that first time at the festival. She told them about the fear she felt and how she found the courage to keep going. The young singers listened with wide eyes, inspired by her journey. Maria smiled and said, "Sometimes, the hardest moments in life are the ones that help us grow the most. Don't be afraid to face your fears. Your voice is your strength, and it can bring light even in the darkest times." Her words stayed with the young singers, encouraging them to believe in themselves and their dreams. Maria knew that the future was bright because the next generation was ready to carry on the music and the message of hope. As Maria grew older, she noticed that her voice changed. It became softer and more gentle, but no less beautiful. She sang with even more feeling, knowing that every note carried a lifetime of experiences and emotions. One day, Maria received a letter from a famous music teacher in the city. The teacher invited her to perform at a special concert to celebrate music's power to heal and unite people. Maria accepted the invitation, excited and a little nervous. The concert was held in a large hall filled with people from all walks of life. Maria stood on the stage, looking out at the sea of faces. She took a deep breath and began to sing. Her voice filled the hall, carrying a message of peace, love, and courage. As she sang, Maria felt a deep connection with everyone in the audience. She knew that music was more than just sound, it was a language of the heart, one that could cross barriers and bring people together. After the concert, many people came to thank Maria. They said her singing had touched their souls and given them hope. Maria felt a quiet happiness, knowing that her simple gift had made a difference in the world. In the years that followed, Maria continued to share her music wherever she went. She wrote songs about life, love, and the strength found in kindness. Her story inspired many, reminding them that even the simplest person can have a powerful voice. Maria's village remained close to her heart. She often returned to the riverbank, sitting under the oak tree and singing softly to herself. The music reminded her of home, of the journey she had taken, and of the people who had believed in her. One sunny afternoon, Maria was surrounded by children singing together. She watched them with a smile, knowing that the music would live on through them. The village was filled with laughter and song, a place where everyone's voice mattered. Maria understood that life was a song, sometimes soft, sometimes strong, always full of meaning. She had learned that courage comes from within and that sharing your true self is the greatest gift of all. Her story became a light for others, a reminder that even in the face of fear and doubt, we can find our voice and use it to bring hope to the world. And so, Maria's voice continued to echo through the village, the towns, and beyond, a simple woman's song that left everyone speechless, not because it was perfect, but because it was real, honest, and full of heart.